Welcome to Plus One, the series where I look at the free month. Sorry, don't know what that was. Anyway, this is PlayStation Plus or Minus for August 2017. And this month, we celebrate a momentous occasion. No Telltale games! Rejoice and be merry, fellow gamers, for Just Cause 3 has descended from on high to save us from the point-and-click adventure game scourge. The physics wizard Rico Rodriguez is back on a new island with new weapons, gadgets, and some new scruff. In case it wasn't obvious from that introduction, I like Just Cause 3. I could go on and on about the things this game does right, but I like to keep these short and sweet, so let's just go through the highs and lows. Just Cause 3 is all about destruction and movement. Freedom! You have numerous tools at your disposal, including but not limited to a magical adamantium momentum-canceling grappling hook, a retractable parachute, jumping cars, and literally unlimited explosive charges that can be made into miniature rocket engines. There are tons of bases to clear and challenges to complete, as well as actual reasons to do these things, lands to explore and cities to devastate, unique story missions that are actually fun, and a flying squirrel suit. I really shouldn't even need to say anything more. So I won't. If you aren't sold after all this, then Just Cause 3 probably just isn't your kind of game. But it is most certainly my kind of game. But that does not mean it is without problems.
Then why am I doing this?
The frame rate is the most obvious issue. It chugs quite a bit when things start getting chaotic, which is often. And this is a real shame because the explosions are beautiful when they run at their intended frame rate. And the wingsuit is, well, overpowered doesn't seem like quite the right word since this game is just one big power fantasy, but it renders cars pretty much useless. The wingsuit is the best new addition by far, but it is just simply the best way to get around once you've gotten good at it. And perhaps the biggest problem to me is the last island. The map is comprised of 3 major islands, the first of which has plentiful towns and a decent military presence, the second has the largest city and more difficult military bases, and the final island is by far the largest and is almost entirely military bases, industrial sites, and massive unremarkable stretches of forest with nothing to do. I started to lose interest once I got to this point, and while I have completed the first 2 islands, I never got around to doing all that much on the last one. This is not a deal breaker at all, since there's more than enough to do in Just Cause 3 even without the last island. But the frame rate issues and the fact that the game sort of fizzles out at the end are things to consider, since this is a huge game that will take up a lot of hard drive space. However, the good outweighs the bad here by a massive margin, and so Just Cause 3 gets a plus. Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry. So to me, Assassin's Creed 4, the pirate one, is easily the best Assassin's Creed game in recent memory, so I had some high hopes for Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry, a standalone DLC for AC4. Sadly, my high expectations were met with what feels like a very watered-down version of the 2014 pirate simulator that I enjoyed so much, with none of the charm or thrill of swashbuckling on the high seas. The first problem is the story. It's boring. Edward Kenway was a charismatic everyman, and his story was clear and purposeful. This guy is boring, and his story amounts to just wandering around doing things that random people tell him to do. Or hey, maybe it gets really fascinating after the first 2 hours. I wouldn't know because I just started skipping the cutscenes. But no amount of cutscene skipping can avoid missions like this, where you just walk in a line, or the endless tailing and eavesdropping missions. The climbing is functional, but after Just Cause 3, where flying takes some thought and practice, the climbing in Assassin's Creed is also boring. Rescuing slaves is boring. Combat is boring. Stealth manages to be somehow both overloaded with gadgets and way too bare bones to be interesting. Ship combat is still pretty cool, but there's not much reason to do it. The upgrades you get don't really matter since you're pretty much unstoppable in combat from the start of the game. There's no consequence to getting caught during stealth since you can just fight your way out easily. And every plantation looks and feels exactly the same. The large open fields and small wooden houses of the Caribbean just don't make for interesting gameplay locations like the sprawling cities of Rome, Florence, or Paris do in other games. But I seem to remember Assassin's Creed 4 having a lot of these problems too, but I liked it. Maybe I've just outgrown the Assassin's Creed games. It's been 3 years since I played Black Flag, Or maybe Assassin's Creed 4 really was better. This many years later, I really just don't know. But what I do know is that Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry makes me want to cry. From boredom. Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry gets a minus. And join me next time for the reviews of the Vita games, Super Motherload and Downwell. See you there. Thanks for watching.